Hi, welcome back everyone. Last time we spoke, we talked about the Uniform Crime Report. Now, the Uniform Crime Report is a useful tool in measuring crime, but it only measures crime that gets reported to the police. So the National Crime Victimization Survey, the Ncvs, measures crime from victims who don't report to the police as well. And this was created because we realized that there was crime that is being committed that isn't being reported to the police that should be measured. And the Uniform Crime Report gets their statistics from police departments. So if you don't call the police and report the crime, then we can't report the crime to the Uniform Crime Report. So that's what we're going to talk about today, the National Crime Victimization Survey. In 1973, the Department of Justice, through the Bureau of Justice Statistics, sponsored the Ncvs. It was redesigned a couple times in 93 and 2006, but it was a comprehensive survey of victims and whether or not they reported it to the police or not. And the way they did it is they had a sample size of about 38,000 households of people older than 12 years old, and they did a 3-year sample size, and over 3 years they would do a comprehensive questionnaire to these people. About 136,000 interviews. So there's going to be a huge number of people that get interviewed for this, and the amount of the data is extraordinary. So what they did is they would interview these people, and they would ask them, provide details of a rape, the sexual assault, the robbery, the theft. They would collect data on the age, the sex, the race, the relationship between the victim and the offender, whether there was weapons used, the nature of the injuries that occurred, all type of questions, much more detailed than the Uniform Crime Report. And the numbers would be different than the Uniform Crime Report on the amount of crime that is reported. It would also look at the self-protection measures that were taken by the victims. It'll also measure whether there was substance abuse or alcohol used during the crime. And the benefit was that people who, even if they didn't report the crime, are now able to have a voice and say, yes, they were victims of a crime. And here's an example. In 2009, the Uniform Crime Report reported 88,000 rapes. Now, we know that there's that dark figure of crime, and we know that rape is a very underreported crime. So the Uniform Crime Report reported 88,000, and the Ncvs reported 126,000. So there were thousands, tens of thousands of rapes that didn't go reported to the police, but it doesn't mean that they didn't occur. So before we get into why people don't report crime, which could be because they're embarrassed, or sometimes it's a situation where they feel that they put themselves in a situation so they don't want to report it to the police, or they themselves are involved in some type of illegal activity, or just that embarrassment of the family or the police that they don't want to report it. And that's a whole separate issue. But with the National Crime Victimization Survey, we are able to get a little bit more information. Now, there are a few problems with this system. It's not perfect. It may be a little better than the UCR, but it isn't perfect. Sometimes people will report crime, but they're using the wrong terminology, so it'll get reported as crime. For example, if somebody comes in and breaks into your house and steals your things, a layperson would call the police and say, I was robbed. Now, whether or not you report that to the police or not is separate, but if you say, I was robbed, and then you get a call and you're part of the victimization survey and you say, yes, I was robbed. Well, rob is the wrong term. Robbery is using force to get something. So the victimization survey is going to show that there was a robbery, but there really wasn't a robbery. It was a burglary or a theft. So there can still be the crime being reported incorrectly. People still don't always report crime, even in this survey. and it's a sample. It's a sample of people that are surveyed, so it's not every American that is a victim of crime, but because we tried to get a good sampling of about 68,000 people with all those interviews, with all those people, so we do try to get a sampling, but it's not going to be 100%. In the previous years, there has been some funding issues, and the sampling sizes have changed, and instead of doing it annually, they have been combining multiple years of data, so the data isn't as accurate because they've been combining multiple years of data. And that is just because of budget restraints through the government. Now, there's still it's still the most comprehensive victimization report that's out there, even with the changes. But we need to understand that there is that dark number of crime, and this is one way to try to get some of those dark numbers into our system so that we can prepare our plans, our criminology statistics, and try to figure out how we're going to stop crime. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll be back again. Thanks.